My name's Ryan Walker. I'm 24, and most days my hands are stained with chain grease and oil from old bicycles. I live in a town you'd probably never notice on a map, just outside Boise, tucked in between wheat fields and mountains that rise up like they've been watching over us for centuries. It's the kind of place where time feels slower, like nothing's in a rush to change. People here say nothing really happens, and maybe that's true, but sometimes the smallest things can fill up an entire life. Every morning, the rhythm is the same. Dogs barking somewhere down the street, the milk truck bouncing over the potholes, and the smell of coffee drifting out from somebody's kitchen window. The houses here are low wooden frames, most of them with white picket fences that have needed paint for years, porches with rocking chairs that creak when the wind hits them right. Kids play in the yards, or in the summer they run through sprinklers, their laughter carrying clear down the block. On weekends you can almost taste the smoke in the air from all the barbecues. You'll hear country music floating from an old speaker, the kind of scratchy sound that makes you think of back porches and long summer nights. And then, every summer, there's the block party. That's the one event that pulls everyone out, no matter how quiet they are the rest of the year. Strings of lights go up across the street, long tables fill the middle of the road, and everyone brings something from their kitchen. Old-timers tell stories, kids chase each other with glow sticks, and neighbors who barely speak the rest of the year end up sitting side by side, laughing into the night. Around here, that one night feels like proof that even the smallest towns can hold something worth remembering. My life's simple. I rent a little one-bedroom house, just a short walk from my shop, Pedalworks. The fridge hums all night like it's trying to keep me company. I don't own much beyond a sagging couch, a stack of old bike magazines, and a bed that squeaks if I roll over too fast. But it's enough. The shop is where I spend most of my hours, tightening bolts, fixing chains, patching tubes. It's not a glamorous job, but I like it. There's something steady about working with my hands, about seeing a kid's face light up when their bike's good as new again. Sometimes I don't even charge when a family's struggling, because I remember what it was like to want something so badly as a kid and not be able to have it. Still, I've always carried this dream with me. One day, I tell myself, I'll open my own shop, not just a corner repair stand but a real place. I picture wooden counters, a chalkboard menu with coffee listed in neat handwriting, a few small tables where folks can sit and talk while I work on their bikes in the back. I don't know how or when I'll get there, but the thought of it keeps me moving. Some people need big ambitions. I just need something that feels like mine. And then there's Lauren Mitchell. She lives right across the street in a beige wooden loft, nothing special to look at, but I swear it changes when she's there. Lauren's 40, and if you asked anyone else they'd probably say she's too old for a guy like me to be thinking about. But that doesn't stop me. She's beautiful in this quiet way, not like the girls you see at the bars on the dating apps. Her beauty doesn't shout, it lingers. It makes you want to look again, to figure out what's behind the calm in her eyes. I see her more often than she knows. Not because I'm trying to, but because she's always there, across the street, framed by her window. Sometimes she's at her desk, her head tied back, stacks of newspapers and books around her, typing like the rest of the world doesn't exist. Other times she's walking through her living room with a book open in her hand, so absorbed she doesn't notice the sunlight spilling across the floor. Every now and then, she steps out on her porch in the evenings with a glass of wine, her gaze fixed somewhere far away, like she's remembering a life she left behind. People talk. They say she used to be a rising journalist in Chicago, someone with a name, until her marriage fell apart. They say her ex-husband, David Harris, was slick, successful, the kind who liked being seen. After the divorce, Lauren left the city and landed here, of all places, starting over in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what's true, and I've never asked. I don't want to dig through her past. It's enough just to notice the way she is now. Our conversations barely exist. A wave across the street when I'm locking up the shop. A polite smile if we pass each other on the sidewalk. That's it. But for me, those small moments have weight. I catch myself replaying them when I'm alone, like the way her hair slipped loose when she brushed it back the other day, or the way her lips curved just slightly when she caught me fumbling with my keys. It's not much, but it stays with me. The truth is, Lauren feels like a song that never finishes, one that cuts off right when you're about to get to the part you love most. You hum the tune without realizing, wishing you could hear it play all the way through. That's how she is to me, unfinished, but unforgettable. Sometimes I think about walking across the street just to talk, to ask her about the books she reads or the stories she's writing. But every time I get close, I stop myself. She's older, wiser, and carrying things I probably can't begin to understand. What do I have to offer her, besides a bike shop dream and grease-stained hands? So I stay where I am, fixing chains and patching tires, watching her from a distance like she's a star I don't dare reach for. And yet, I notice things. Like the way she always leaves her porch light on, even when she doesn't step outside. Like how she keeps pots of lavender lined up along her railing, though half of them are dry and brittle because she forgets to water them. Or how, every so often, her laughter escapes through an open window, soft, quick, gone before I can catch the sound. I notice, and I keep it to myself. Sometimes, late at night, I'll sit on my porch with a soda and stare at her window glowing across the street. I tell myself I'm not waiting for her, that I'm just letting the night pass, but part of me is always hoping she'll step outside. If she does, I'll nod, maybe say hello, like that's all it is. But inside, my chest will tighten, because even a simple hello from her feels like more than I should deserve. Neighbors tease me sometimes. Mrs. Thompson, the old woman 2 houses down, likes to call me the nice boy when I carry her groceries in. Mr. Reynolds shakes his head when I fix his gate without charging. They think I'm polite, maybe a little too good-hearted for my own good. They don't know that half the reason I linger on my porch at night isn't the cool air, but the chance, just the chance, that I might see Lauren. One evening, I caught her standing at her porch railing, the sky painted orange with the setting sun. She was holding a letter in her hands, folded and refolded, like it had been read too many times. Her face was calm, but her eyes looked tired, heavier than usual. I wanted to ask if she was okay. I almost did. But then she pressed the letter flat on the table beside her, picked up her glass of wine, and leaned back like she was trying to disappear into the quiet. So I stayed silent. That's the thing about Lauren. She makes you want to step closer, but she also makes you pause, because you can tell she's guarding something. I don't know what it is, but I feel it every time I see her, the distance she keeps, the secrets folded into her silence. And yet, I keep watching, keep hoping one day she'll let someone in. I can't explain why she gets to me the way she does. Maybe it's a strength, hidden beneath the quiet. Maybe it's the way she looks like she belongs in 2 worlds at once, the small town porch and the big city life she left behind. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just that she's Lauren, and that's enough. I tell myself not to fall for her, that it doesn't make sense, that she wouldn't look twice at a younger guy who fixes bikes for a living. But when she laughs, even just a little, I feel it deep, like it's mine to hold. When she looks up from her porch and meets my eyes, just for a second, I feel like the world slowed down, like maybe she notices me too. Maybe. For now, I keep to my side of the street, fixing bikes and living my quiet life. But in the back of my mind, Lauren's there, always there. Like a rhythm I can't shake, a melody that stays with me even after the day's gone quiet. And I don't know it yet, but soon, the block party will change everything. The day everything shifted didn't announce itself. It was one of those bright June afternoons where the sun felt like it was stretching its arms across the whole sky, making the sidewalks warm enough to sting if you sat on them too long. Kids were running around in shorts, chasing the jingle of the ice cream truck that rattled down our street. I was out front, hunched over the Reynolds boy's bike, trying to coax a stubborn chain back into place. It was ordinary, just another afternoon with grease on my hands, the sound of summer in the air, until Lauren stepped out onto her porch. I noticed her right away. I always did. She was holding something in her hand, a bright flyer that looked almost too cheerful for the way she was staring at it. She leaned against the railing, eyes fixed on the paper like it was a problem she couldn't solve. Her shoulders were drawn tight, her lips pressed together, and for once she didn't look like the calm, untouchable woman I'd grown used to watching. She looked troubled. I wiped my hands on my jeans, more out of instinct than necessity, and straightened up. My heart kicked up before I even moved, but I found myself crossing the street anyway. "Afternoon, Lauren," I said when I reached her fence, leaning casually against the wood like it was something I did all the time. She startled, looking up quickly, and then forced a small smile. "Hi, Ryan. Busy fixing your car?" "Bike," I corrected with a grin. "But I'm done now. You don't look too thrilled about that flyer." She glanced down at it, then sighed softly and brushed a loose strand of hair from her face. "It's the block party. I should be excited, right? It's the kind of thing people around here look forward to." "But," she hesitated, her voice trailing off. I tilted my head, waiting. "But David's coming," she finished, her voice low. "And he won't be alone." David. Her ex. I'd never met him, but his name floated around enough that I felt like I had. The successful, flashy kind of man who never seemed to fit in a town like ours. For a moment, I didn't say anything. I just watched her, really watched her, and saw something I hadn't seen before. How carefully she held herself together. How much effort it must take to seem unbothered when she was anything but. Then, before I could talk myself out of it, I smiled lightly. "Then maybe you need someone to go with you." Her head snapped up, eyes surprised. "What do you mean?" I shrugged, trying to sound casual, though my chest was hammering. "I could go with you. Pretend to be your date. Make sure David doesn't think you're alone." It was half a joke, the kind of thing you say when you want to test the water without diving in. But my voice came out steadier than I expected, and part of me realized I meant it more than I should have. For a heartbeat, I thought I'd overstepped. Then she laughed, soft and warm, the kind of laugh I'd never heard from her before. It wasn't practiced or polite. It was real. "Ryan Walker," she said, shaking her head slightly. "You're bold." I grinned, though my face felt hot. "I fix bikes all day. I can handle a little show." Her eyes searched mine, like she was trying to figure out if I was serious. "You're young. Don't get yourself caught up in my adult mess." "Lauren," I said quietly, "sometimes a mess just looks better when someone's standing next to you." She looked away then, her fingers folding the flyer into a small crease. The silence between us stretched, but it wasn't heavy. It was alive, humming with something new. "David's coming with his new girlfriend," she said after a moment, her voice even but her knuckles tight around the paper. "She's younger. A lot younger than me." I nodded slowly. News travels fast around here. People talk. People always talk. She gave a thin smile, but her eyes didn't follow. "It's easy for them. They look at me and see an old toy on a shelf. Something used once, set aside, forgotten." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I leaned on the fence, trying to steady my voice. "That's not what I see." Her gaze flicked up to mine, quick and sharp. "What do you see, then?" The truth sat on my tongue before I could stop it. "I see someone worth looking at. Someone who makes the street feel different when she steps outside." Lauren's breath caught, almost invisible, but I noticed. She looked at me longer this time, her hazel eyes brighter in the shade of her porch. And for once, she didn't hide behind a polite smile. "You really mean that, don't you?" she whispered. I swallowed hard, nodding. Every word. The ice cream truck's bell clanged in the distance, kids shrieking as they ran toward it. The sound filled the space between us, making the moment feel even more like it belonged to its own world. Finally, Lauren let out a soft laugh, though there was something vulnerable beneath it. "So what would you do, if you came with me? Smile at the right times? Nod when David brags?" "Exactly," I said, grinning. "I'll be your shadow. Your younger, grease-stained, slightly awkward shadow." That made her laugh again, fuller this time, and the sound sent a warmth through me I couldn't shake. "You really don't know what you're getting yourself into," she said, shaking her head. "Maybe not," I admitted. "But I know I don't want you to feel alone. Not if I can help it." Her smile faltered just slightly, softening into something that wasn't for show. Something real. Across the street, Mr. Reynolds adjusted the flag hanging over his door, tying it more securely as the wind picked up. The world went on as if nothing had changed, but standing there, leaning against Lauren's fence, I knew something had. The flyer slipped from her hand and landed gently on the porch boards. She didn't bother picking it up. Instead, she looked at me with a kind of quiet consideration, like she was weighing a possibility she hadn't let herself imagine before. And for the first time since I'd known her, I felt like the walls she carried around herself had cracked, just a little. Enough for me to glimpse what she'd been keeping inside. "I'll think about it," she said finally, her voice low but not dismissive. "Good," I replied, my throat dry. "Just know the offer's real. No pretending on my end." Her lips parted like she wanted to respond, but then she closed them again and just smiled, a small, fragile smile that somehow meant more than words. I walked back across the street after that, but the rest of the day blurred. I couldn't remember what else I fixed at the shop or whether I even finished the Reynolds boys' bike properly. All I could remember was a look in her eyes when she asked me what I saw, and the way my answer had hung between us like a secret we both wanted to keep. And for the first time, Lauren wasn't just my neighbor or the quiet woman across the street. She was someone I could imagine walking beside, under the block party lights, with everyone watching and no part of me caring what they thought. The block party had a way of transforming our quiet little street. By the time the sun began dipping, the air was already humming with music from the rented speakers, the sweet smell of grilled corn and burgers drifting down the sidewalks. Kids darted past with sparklers, their laughter spilling into the early evening, and neighbors carried lawn chairs out like they were preparing for a parade. It was always the same every year. Streamers tied from porch railings, tables lined with plastic bowls of potato salad, someone inevitably burning a batch of hot dogs. But that night, for me, it all felt new, different. Because I wasn't just showing up as Ryan, the kid everyone knew grew up fixing bikes and cars. I was showing up for Lauren. I'd taken longer than I probably should have getting ready. A clean shirt, dark jeans, even cologne I'd barely used since high school prom. My hand still had faint smudges of grease under the nails. I could never quite scrub it all out, but I hoped it wouldn't matter. Across the street, Lauren's porch light flicked on. My chest tightened as I saw her step out, and for a moment, the rest of the noise, the music, the chatter, the crackle of sparklers, faded away. She wore a soft blue dress, simple but stunning, the fabric brushing just above her knees. Her hair was loose for once, falling over her shoulders in waves that caught the light. And though she stood still, glancing around like she was searching for courage, she carried herself with a quiet strength that made my breath catch. I crossed the street before I could lose nerve. "You look," the word slipped out before I could catch it. "Beautiful." Her cheeks colored, and she gave a small laugh, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "You clean up pretty well yourself, Ryan." For a beat, we just stood there, the hum of the party behind us, the space between us heavy with everything unspoken. Then she let out a quiet breath. "Shall we?" she asked. We walked side by side toward the glow of lights strung above the street. At first, people didn't notice. They were busy at the grill, setting out coolers, shouting greetings. But as we moved further in, I felt it, the shift. Conversations dipping, eyes sliding toward us, curious smiles exchanged behind sips of soda. Lauren felt it too. I could tell by the way her hand tightened slightly around the hem of her dress, her shoulders straightening. Without thinking, I moved a little closer, brushing my hand against hers. I didn't grab it outright, just let it linger long enough for her to know I was there. Her fingers curled against mine, not fully holding, but not pulling away either. We made our way through the clusters of neighbors, exchanging nods and greetings. Some smiled warmly, some with that knowing glint of gossip already forming. But none of it mattered, not when Lauren's hand finally slipped into mine like it belonged there. And then, of course, David showed up. He arrived with his arm draped around a girl who couldn't have been much older than me. She was dressed in something short and sparkly, her laugh a little too loud as they walked in. David looked exactly as I imagined, slick, polished, like someone who thought the world owed him attention. Lauren tensed beside me, her hand twitching in mine. I squeezed gently, leaning closer to murmur, "Remember, you're not alone." She drew a breath, lifted her chin, and together we walked right past him. David's eyes flicked toward us, narrowing slightly. His smile faltered just a touch as he took in the sight of our hands linked. Lauren didn't stop, didn't waver. She just kept walking, her posture calm and steady. For once, she looked untouchable, not because she was hiding, but because she was finally seen. We found a spot near the string lights where the music was loudest and kids spun in circles with glow sticks. For the first time all evening, I saw Lauren relax. She even laughed at something Mrs. Cooper said about the scandal of a 30-year-old dating someone younger, her eyes sparkling in the glow. At some point, music shifted from upbeat party songs to something slower. A handful of couples drifted into the street, swaying under the lights. I hesitated, nerves knotting in my stomach, but then I turned to Lauren. "Dance with me?" I asked. She blinked, surprised. "Hey," with everyone watching. "Let them watch," I said softly. Her lips parted, like she wanted to protest, but then she let out a small, almost disbelieving laugh. "You don't give up easily, do you?" "Not when it matters." Slowly, she placed her hand in mine. I guided her into the open space, the world narrowing until it was just us and the music. Her other hand rested lightly on my shoulder, and I held her closer than I thought I'd dare. At first, she was stiff, cautious. But as the song carried on, she softened, her body leaning gently into mine. The street around us blurred, the chatter, the lights, even David's shadow somewhere in the crowd. All I could feel was the warmth of her hand, the steady beat of her heart close to mine. "You make this look easy," she murmured, almost to herself. "Because it feels right," I whispered back. Her eyes lifted to mine then, and for a moment, everything stilled. There was no doubt, no hesitation, just the truth hanging between us. And then she kissed me. It was soft, tentative, but real. Her lips brushed mine like a secret finally spoken, and my world tilted. My hands tightened gently at her waist, pulling her closer, and when she didn't pull away, I kissed her back. When we finally parted, her eyes were shining in the glow of the string lights. "Ryan," she whispered, half a laugh in her voice, half wonder. "What are we doing?" "Something we should have done a long time ago," I said. She laughed again, softer this time, and rested her forehead against mine. "You're too young for me. You know that, right?" "Maybe," I admitted. "But I know how I feel. And I know you feel it too." Her silence was answer enough. She didn't pull away. She didn't hide. She just let herself be there with me, in the open, where everyone could see. The rest of the night blurred into light and music and laughter, but what stayed sharp, what burned itself into me, was that kiss under the block party glow. The way she looked at me, not as the kid across the street, not as a temporary distraction from her past, but as someone who might just be her future. And for the first time, I believed we really could be.